Hello, my beautiful light beings. Welcome back to the Magic Exists podcast with Dani Margot. I have an amazing guest today. His name is Jeroen de Wit. He is an extraordinary level 3 quantum healing hypnosis technique facilitator whose journey began in the picturesque Netherlands. With 19 years of experience and thousands of transformative sessions under his belt, Jeroen is dedicated to unveiling the magic of healing and self-discovery for his clients every single week. His profound understanding of personal struggles coming from a background of being marginalized gives him a unique knack for helping others identify how they've been taught to limit their authenticity, guiding them toward a life of freedom, purpose, and joy. Yehoon's spiritual awakening in 1997 ignited his quest for healing and authenticity, inspiring him to explore a diverse range of modalities, including Reiki, EFT, EMF, balancing technique, and quantum touch healing. Having received invaluable training directly from Dolores Cannon in 2006, he skillfully combines these tools to guide individuals toward their inner source, helping them find answers and heal profound wounds. As a proud leader of the LGBTQIA community, Yehoon's passionate approach resonates deeply with all, especially with BIPOC individuals, contactees, survivors of high demand groups, and those seeking liberation and authenticity. His group events and classes in QHHT and meditation create a nurturing space for collective healing where everyone is welcomed and embraced. Welcome to the space.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for that long introduction. And thank you for pronouncing my name so beautifully. It's a rare occasion that happens. Even my own husband, like, sometimes struggles with it.
No way. Oh my God, I love it.
Full disclosure,
And
we practiced a little bit before we started today.
yes. I think names have such a powerful frequency, and our soul chose it for a reason. And so I just wanted to really share that. And before meditating on, with this beautiful session, the what came through was like story. The Akashic records, the guides, they really want to share your story. So the first question I like to ask all my guests is, what is your strongest clair, and how do you utilize that in your daily life and in your work?
Yeah, I had to think about it. But my strongest clair is and has for a long time been clairsentience. And I notice it the most when I first see my clients. So I typically work with people like one or two, or maybe sometimes three times. And so I see a lot of new people every day. And as soon as they get out of their car or they round the corner, I get a feeling of who they are and what the session will be like. And it's always like a fun game for me to like see if it's true or not. So that's when I notice it the most. But I'm such a feeling person, also because the way that I was raised and the kind of traumas that I experienced, I needed to be very like aware of what was happening in this space and if it was going to be safe and what the people were like. So I'm always really very good at feeling people's intentions and if they're dangerous or not. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because how I met you is I went to your beautiful home to receive a wonderful QHHT session maybe 3 years ago. And for someone who doesn't know what QHHT is, can you maybe tell us a little bit about what it is and what the purpose of it is for?
Yeah. So QHHT means Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, and it's a form of past life regression hypnotherapy that was developed by Dolores Cannon, my teacher. And it's like about a 4 hour format session. And what it's for really is it's for all kinds of healing. But really what it does, it recovers a person's authentic identity. So what I'm seeing a lot in my own life and my clients' life is that being alive on this planet, we have received so much messaging regarding ourselves that we're not good enough, we don't belong, there's something wrong with us, be it the color of our skin, our sexuality, gender, all these things. And then also for myself, always kind of knowing that life is consciousness based rather than carbon based, which is how most people are raised, or that's how they believe the world runs. It's a materialistic world, and there's nothing like consciousness. Um, and so a session gives a person an experiential experience of their soul, through diving into these different past lives. And then it often affirms things that have been hidden in the background, things about yourself, quirks, experiences you might have had in the past. It affirms really who you are. And that brings a lot of healing with it. Like oftentimes when people know why they're going why they're going through certain issues, oftentimes the physical expression of it can be removed in a session, or emotional or mental, depending on what's happening. It's it's so cool. It's not just cool because of the healing, but also because I see people kind of like their light goes on, or if it's already on, I get to fan the flames in a way. But also, identifying as somebody who is more consciousness based from the get go. Like as a kid, I always felt like I didn't belong, and I know now that it's because I have such a different approach to life than what the world tells you to have. To see people shift their focus from deriving acknowledgement, power, validation from external sources to knowing that they are love, that they are consciousness, and to use it as the main navigational sort of marker or push in their life is just, that's freedom. It's really nice to see that ripple out because they're going to influence other people. I work with a lot of people that are creating platforms or are in the public eye, or just like within their family, and doing it within their family. And it's, I hope that I'm helping to make this world a better place that way.
Absolutely. And I want to share a little bit about my experience with you because it was so magic how I found you. And I was going through an intuitive course in 2023, January 2023. I think so. And someone in my class had gotten a QHHT session from a level 3 practitioner. And she was like, you have to find someone in your area. And she was in Colorado. And so I think you were like the only one in LA. And I was like doing the research, and I had already been listening to some of, Dolores Cannon's books. So I had a background of the galactic kind of information that was coming through that I felt was like magical, like my body was like resonant with all the things that she was saying. And so to find this modality that she created and you being taught directly from her, I was like, wow, there's some magic here that I need to uncover. And I remember I had already been practicing the Akashic records for like a year, a little less than a year. So my access to these like multidimensional spaces and past lives wasn't new to me, but the space that you held and the depth of how deep I went helped me see like my own personal power and what I was capable of. Because how deep I got with you with that hypnosis, and I've never done a past life regression or like a hypnosis before that. And even now, I've probably only done like one other hypnosis. So I didn't really know what that was. I'd only gone to that depth of, I guess you would say like almost like alpha or delta wave, or I don't know, like that depth only like one or two times before. And so the questions you asked were really supportive in me getting to this like really deep state. And I've noticed in past lives in the Akashic records, I go very quickly because I have a point, right? Like I'm gonna go heal this specific chakra or something and show me the past life. Let's do the healing. Okay, we're done. And with you, it was so beautiful because you're like, what color shoes are you wearing? What is around you? And let's forward in time and see the same life, but you like 50 years ahead. And what did you learn and what did you experience and what are you going through now? And I was like, whoa, there's like you can unravel so many things. And and it was just so beautiful. And one of the things that I didn't expect to happen was this healing of my eyesight, which was something that I had been experiencing since the third grade. I was like, what, 8 years old that I've been wearing glasses. And I had LASIK eye surgery almost a decade ago. And so when I went in to see you, my eyesight was getting worse and I was getting nervous that I was going to have to get glasses. And I was already like having a little stigmatism and all that, and it was getting blurry. And I remember when I went, I think tell me if I'm wrong, the superconscious?
We call it the subconscious, yes. But
Subconscious.
superconscious or soul or higher self, they're kind of talking about the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they came in and they're like, she's ready to heal it. And it's so interesting, me with eyes, because it has a direct connection with my third eye. So when I don't believe I can see, my eyesight gets worse. And so it's been this beautiful exploration of self since that session, because now I know I have the power and ability to heal myself. And it's interesting because I was going through this I think a year later, this block, and my eyes started getting blurry again, and I got glasses again. And then I was like, okay, I know I can heal this. And so the last year I'm like, I'm perfect again. And it's like I had that from that experience. I know I can heal anything myself. I know it's
Wow.
internal, and it's just, I'm so grateful for you.
That's amazing. I love that, that the belief has been solidified that you can do this. That's the best, because I really think this is where we're going, as a collective, to be able to tap into that power. And then, people are like the, what's the word for that? Like the way showers. There's people now that are able to move things with their mind, or have telepathy, can heal themselves. That stuff is going to be popping up, I think, more and more and more. So that's really great.
Absolutely. And I think that really is the way of the new earth, finding that power and understanding we can heal ourselves. And so, how was it learning from Dolores Cannon?
I mean, I was completely like fangirling over her, even though this was back in 2006 and nobody really knew her. I had been on a really intense sort of healing journey myself. I had a really rough kind of awakening or initiation in the late 90s, and it caused me to have to like heal myself from the ground up. And so as I was doing that, and contacting lots of different healers and holistic practitioners, I found out that I really wanted to do this work as well, because I just found it so beautiful combined with the empowerment that I felt. Um, and then I was getting one of those healings, and I found out about, I saw like a book laying on the coffee table, and it had Alien on the cover, and by Dolores Cannon. I had never heard that name. So I started leafing through it, and I was completely sucked in. Like, this lady was talking about some stuff that I didn't know I knew about. It was not like literally she talked about things that I knew, but she was talking about an experience of consciousness that I knew and that resonated as me. And so, I having felt like I didn't belong on this planet for so long, and always trying to find places to fit in and that not working out, I was like, fuck, this is really what I want to do. And so I looked her up and found out that she was teaching in the Netherlands, where I lived at the time. That's where I'm from. This is why my name is so weird. And so I just met the requirements to be eligible to join the class. There was like different ones that they have now, but I had been trained as a therapist, so I had the requirements to do this. And so it was such a small class. It was 12 people from all over Europe, and I mean, it was just amazing. I couldn't believe that I was in class with this woman who made these amazing discoveries, and had done such diligent research and had written about it. Yeah, just knowing that she kind of embodied all of that stuff was just really amazing. The people I was in class with, we were like admonished by her because the Dutch people were so loud. They were like talking the whole time. So she was having to tell them to shut the fuck up. I mean, she didn't use those words, but and, but what I thought was really fun is that she looked like such a salt of the earth, like Midwestern white lady, white church lady with a perm, and then she opens her mouth, and it's so opposite of what you expect, which was made me so. It just tickled me. It was such a fun contrast. She looked like somebody's grandma. Here's your Jello, dear. And she starts talking about aliens. So yeah, that was super fun, and I mean, it was so inspiring because she she really knew her shit. Like, she had been doing it when I met her for decades, and she was very grounded and very confident in her wisdom that she had gathered through these thousands of sessions. So to have an example of somebody speaking from that or about that realm of consciousness out in the world that was so affirming for me and also so inspiring.
Yeah, and so for anyone who's new to Dolores Cannon, the Convoluted Universe and the Three Waves of Volunteers were like the first ones, the first books that I encountered, and a little bit about them are just explaining. What really got to me was this one story where one of the ladies, she was being hypnotized, and she would like lose chunks of time throughout her day. And she wouldn't know where she was going. And actually she was going like back to her soul family and connecting with them. And it's just like it's so beautiful that like we are so supported from the unseen and from our star families and our galactic families and soul families. And it's so beautiful because oftentimes we feel like we're so alone. And I feel like that was the first time I was like, we are not alone. And I'm so supported. And I want to know more about this. But are there any big revelations that you have come across through your experiences with your clients?
I feel like there's so many, and they've become like such commonplace for me. I mean, it's sort of commonplace for me to know that people tap into those parts of themselves, like that were part of star families or guides. That's really normal. Let me think if there's anything.
I love that you're recording like your sessions and you're posting them online and like the things that the people are saying. It's so cool. Like I think yeah, a bunch of them I was listening to like, oh yes, these are like this is magic right here.
Well, for myself, what it's really been affirming because as a kid, I was always looking for the unseen. I was like, this physical world is not all there is. So I remember like reading about like the gnomes and the fairies and stuff, and then really knowing that they were around. And so whenever we would go for a walk in the forest with my parents, then I would be looking in like the hollows of trees for like little tables and chairs or little like fairy wings maybe had fallen off on like the little, what do you call those? The little mushrooms that grow on the side of trees, like the flat ones. In Dutch, they're called like fairy benches, which is a really cute name, but
I don't think
uh,
I've ever seen one before.
they're like flat. There's a name. I forget. I forgot the name for it in English, but they're like flat mushrooms that grow in like layers, and they called fairy benches in Dutch, which I think is an appropriate name. But anyway, I was always looking for those things, and then years later, doing this work, people going into past lives as a fairy, or I just posted a session where somebody went into a past life as a Sasquatch, which was so cool. Like, so all the sort of legends or dragons that comes in a lot, dragon experiences. Um, so all these legends and things that we knew about growing up that were just part of the fairy tales, they're really real, if you ask me.
Can you tell
Because
us about the Sasquatch?
yeah, it's just so fun because I mean, I've also worked with clients that grew up in like Washington State, and they've actually seen Sasquatch, in their current lifetime, and they would tell me about it. And then this particular client who went into a lifetime of Sasquatch, she she told me that they were from a different planet and that they had an outpost here on Earth for a long time, and they don't like hanging around people because we stink. I was like, how come? And she goes, well, it's the thoughts. The thoughts are like bad. They have bad thoughts, people. So, and we can smell that. And so it's not fun to be around that, which made sense. And she said that they take people as pets sometimes, which made me think, like, what do you mean? And they said that they take people as pets and to take them to their home planet, and but if they don't like it there, then they would send them back. And she was like, yeah, sometimes they don't make the ride. They don't survive the ride there. It's like an interdimensional travel. And it's mostly kids that survive it. But the adults sometimes they just die. And if they want to go back, we wiped their memory. They have no memory of it. So they put them back without knowing what just happened. That they're just advanced beings. And they love working with the earth energies. Yeah, and they're found mostly in natural wooded areas, of course. And the fun thing was that I had met this client that explained to me that he had seen a Sasquatch, and he remembered being like on a trail in the mountains in Washington State. And looking ahead, he saw this like invisible line and then his hairy leg kind of stepping through it as if there were a portal, and then the whole Sasquatch, coming after it. And so, and then I met this one client that became a Sasquatch, and she said she was explaining that she would walk to like this little hill or this mound, and she would touch something in the sky, and then this portal would open, and she would go through it, and then go back to the home planet to just like interact with them, and then come back to Earth. So that kind of matched, using portals to travel. It was so cool.
I love that. I heard a little bit that they're like elementals too. So like that's why sometimes we can like see them walking, but that we can't see anyone there, right? Like we just see the trees moving. And so that's why it's like, oh, okay, sometimes I can see them, sometimes they can become in physical form, and then sometimes they could just be in like this empty form, but they still have a reaction with the like the physical around them.
Yes. Yeah.
So cool.
So that was, I mean, that was my biggest revelation. And then at the beginning of my career, I was still kind of skeptical. I'm from the Netherlands, and we're kind of like rational people, even though I don't want to be. But, I was still like, I don't know. People are just making shit up. I don't know. And so I had a lot of experiences where people would go into historical lives that have been documented, which could be fact checked. And, the biggest one, of course, is my client who was from a Christian background and had a son who started telling her at age 2 that he used to be a tall German baseball player, that he remembered being up on a cloud and picking her as his mom in this lifetime, and but that she was his mom in that past life as well. And so after, going to her pastor and trying to figure out what was going on with her son, because he had an interest in baseball, and she would take him to the Dodger Stadium, and he knew things about baseball that he couldn't have known about. Like there was a poster of Babe Ruth on the wall, which is a legendary American baseball player, and he had a big fit. He was like pointing at it, saying that guy is bad. We had a big fight. Like he knew that man. So there was stuff going on that was just beyond like a kid's imagination. And so, like one of her more woo-woo friends had already done a session with me and said, go see this Dutch guy in Eagle Rock, and see what this past life stuff is all about. And so she came in, and she tells me this story, and I'm like, lady, I don't know you. Are you pulling my leg? I have no idea, but let's do a session. And I tell her that I can't guarantee that we go into that lifetime, because I let the higher self decide what's the most appropriate. But it became pretty clear quickly that we were dealing with Christina Garrick's life, Lou Gehrig's mom. She described a life on the East Coast in the 1930s, like a working class environment. And her recall was so detailed, like me being suspicious of this woman, like, is this a hoax? I figured I better ask about lots of trivial details to see if she can answer them, because she couldn't have researched everything, prior to coming in. So I did, and she had an answer for everything. And down to like knowing her German. I mean, she was from Germany, but her kids were born in the States, but she had like German nicknames for them. And one of the important days that she experienced in the regression was walking to the Yankee Stadium. And, here's me going like, what can I ask her about like little things? And so I asked her, were you going to watch the game? Are you going to have any snacks or anything? And she goes, yes, we're having like warm nuts. She goes, and I go, is it like burnt peanuts? And she goes, no, I think it's chestnuts. And she's from Southern California. She's from McGuire Hills. I had no idea what chestnuts even look like. And then I asked her, what are you drinking, anything? And she goes, yes, we're having a cola. Like what American born person would refer to a Coke as a cola? So even like another language or another time would like bleed into the use of her language. And this is the thing that can happen. Sometimes people can even like speak completely different languages, be it light language or languages from cultures that no longer exist. So that can really happen. And so she came in 2 more times and goes back into the same lifetime. I've never had that happen again. But we would explore different periods of it, like from her birth to when she got on the boat from Germany to move to the United States, and then like her elderly days. And so I asked her higher self, like, why are we doing this? And it goes, well, she is to mine this regression experience for verifiable details that she has to go and fact check with the living descendants and relatives of the Garrick family, and then write a book about it, that this book would give access to a larger, like, demographic of people because it would have the subject of baseball, but also this level of like verifiability like mixed in. And so she did. She went to these descendants and things down to like a little necklace that she had described in a regression that looked like a bird with a little diamond as an eye, and who she had given it to, it was all correct. Like everything that she like pulled out of her ass like during her session was lived experience. And so she entered the Hay House writing contest, and it was made into a book. And it's called The Boy Who Knew Too Much by Kathy Bird. And it's really cool because Halle Berry's production company is now turning it into a movie. So hopefully that'll happen. And hopefully I'm going to be played by somebody really pretty.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Wow. And it really goes to show that we really are only living out of, what do they say, like 5 or 7% of our conscious, which I would say is like the carbon, right? And like the 95% of consciousness, which is beyond anything. And like how to integrate and how to utilize that in every moment and into the daily life. And that's something I have been kind of strapping with. How do you access these multidimensional gifts or memories, but in every conscious state
For myself, you mean?
in general?
I mean, for me, it's more of a gradual, like, refocusing of my identity. Like, I used to be very identified with being a human being, kind of knowing that there was more, but not really feeling part of that. And now it's shifted to I know that I'm an eternal being, as is everybody else, and that this experience is temporary. Um, and knowing that I am a unique emanation or expression of source, um, to recover as much of that uniqueness as possible. So it's really refocused my attention to myself and to my feelings and to my kind of feeling tone or vibration, and to try and honor that as much as I can, and to become aware of like the limitations that I've learned to put upon myself as a result of being alive on this planet, and to try and do away with them, to really live my own freedom, because I know that I'm going to be happier, more joyful. I'm going to be more purposeful, and I'm going to be more of service when I do so. When I, shine my light the brightest, then other people are given the permission to do the same for themselves. Um, and so, yeah, I find that more like I remember in the beginning of my journey, I would know that there was this other world out there, but then I have my physical world reality, and they seem to be so separate. I didn't know how to blend the two. But now, because in the beginning I just read a lot about it, and now, but it's become more of an experience, even though there have been so many different like specific experiences that would really solidify the knowing or the conviction of it. Um, Now it's become more like, how would you describe that?
Like
Like,
fully embodied in your knowing.
yes, yeah, more. It's more embodied. So I don't feel the separation between the two worlds. I now feel more like I am a temporary part of like a eternal traveler, and I'm here on the planet in this particular body. And it's not like, I know I can tap into what all the other parts of me are doing or my soul is doing all the time, but it's more like a knowing from which I navigate my life. Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a beautiful like perspective shift because
Yes.
it's like from being so ingrained in like a specific identity myself also, as well. Like I felt like I was so like I'm mixed race, so I'm half Asian, half Mexican, and I feel like where I grew up it was like I never felt like I was enough of one. I was always like kind of going in between. So I was like, well, who am I? Am I ever enough? And so moving past the identity of just like an ethnicity or nationality and moving into like what you said, eternal being or a soul. I'm so much more than that. And that's helped me move through life with more ease and flow and trust if I am a part of Source, then Source will divinely guide me and support me. And so those feelings of not enough or maybe not trusting or anger or self-hatred, whatever, is coming up, I'm able to sit in the energy of like, that source consciousness and re-remember the love, because I think the frequency is like unconditional love for me is what I feel when I connect to that energy. And what more joyful than feeling loved in every moment?
Of course, yes. I mean, I can't say that I feel like that in every moment, but I do know that, when I go through issues, or when I do get, very negative, or like, self-loathing or stuff like that happens, I know it's there to be transformed. It's not like, it's not the truth of who I am, and it's coming up to just be purged, because that's what I think I am doing, and a lot of other people at this time, that I luckily get to interact with. We are purging the accumulated trauma and toxins, be it physical or mental or emotional, from our body to level up at this time. This is what I think is happening.
Absolutely. And I think that's why I love talking to like light workers and way showers so much because we all speak kind of a similar language where we're looking within to help purge and clear all the conditioning. And it's a something experience that we're working through. And in the beginning, I felt a lot of resistance towards it, right? If something comes up, it's uncomfortable. And I'm triggered by what someone says. And it's like, oh, they're wrong, not me.
Yes.
And it's feeling that like victim energy. And so it's now I kind of find it as a game. That's kind of how I see it. Like, okay, I'm being triggered. Let me sit with what this uncomfortableness is for a moment and get to the root of that energy, whatever that is, why I'm actually feeling this. And of course, it's always me taking personal responsibility. And then because of that, now I'm able to move through it so much quicker. And and so like for example, in the past, my sister and I, when we were growing up, were like kind of 10 years apart. And so we didn't always see eye to eye. And when we would fight, it would like be held, the anger would be held in my body for like weeks. And recently we went through something maybe a year ago, and I was able to transmute that energy in 45 minutes and
Oh,
actually let it go and actually release it and bring compassion to her in the experience. And I was like, whoa, this is this is magic.
advanced sorcery. Yes. Good for you. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. So tell us a little bit about what are you offering with the QHHT? And is that like your primary modality at this time?
Yeah, I'm trained in like other energy healing modalities, but I love QHC the most, because it's so transformative. So that's the only thing I do at this time. Sometimes people sneak in there and book like energy healing sessions. It's like on an old website. So when it happens, I kind of see it as like, I'm just gonna do it. And it's fun to like check in. But yeah, I love doing the QHC. So I do this now 4 times a week. And then I do group sessions as well. And QHC is only done in person. So I'm in Los Angeles. So I work with local people or people that are flying in. But then I do group sessions as well, and those can be done virtually. So I do at least like once a month, I do a group session through like different venues, like the Den I'm working with, this new place called Pure Heart Collective, the Mindry in Malibu. And not all of them do it virtually, but like the Mindry, for instance, and does it in person. But yeah, that's what I do as well. And then I do like house parties, people that reach out and they have a bunch of people that want to do experience a past life regression. I go there. There's sex, and we have a great time. There's lots of talking about like past lives and spiritual experiences. It's like such a community building. Super fun.
I love that. I need to like book you for my birthday or something.
Nice.
So where can everyone find you?
So I'm in Los Angeles in the Valley, and the best way, if you want to book a session or find out more, is my Instagram page, which is Jeroen is Love. Jeroen is my first name. Jeroen is love, my affirmation. Or my website is my first name, Jeroen, JeroenQHHT. If you want to just find out more about the kind of experiences sessions, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's Jeroen de Wit, QHHT, my name, JeroenDEWIT1T, QHHT. I've posted some sessions. They're fascinating. There's a lot of like alien stuff happening there, which is my favorite type of sessions. Um, or on TikTok, it's Jeroen is Love. Yeah, that's about it.
So beautiful. And I'll put everything in the show notes as well. Is there anything, any wisdom that you might want to come through for the collective today?
Yes. People wondering about like how to become more intuitive or psychic or to love oneself. Like the easiest like first step is always, I think, is to go for joy, and not the joy that you get by being rewarded or validated or acknowledged, um, or yeah, it's the joy of, I mean, when you ask yourself what is joyful, you're going to have to listen to your heart. You have to drop out of your mind into your heart and feel and see, what do I want to do? And then it's important to do those things, because the more joy you create in your life, the more time you spend with yourself. And the whole point is to rebuild a relationship with yourself. And so when you actually acknowledge that something is joyful and you take the time out to do that for yourself, you're you're building trust with yourself. And so that keys you into the messages that your body and the more subtle layers of your being have for you. I mean, if you're not willing to listen, if you're always thinking, well, the kids or the husband or the job, or I gotta load the dishwasher, if that always comes first, you're basically telling yourself to fuck off. So joy is the easiest because it's wonderful to start to be present and to listen to yourself. That's the wisdom that I'm hopefully embodying, but that's also what the higher self tells my clients over and over again.
Beautiful. That's a similar message that comes through from the Akashic Records. So I absolutely love it. Yahun, you are magic. Everyone, I highly recommend him. Thank you so much for co-creating this beautiful space with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I love you to pieces. Good seeing you again.
Bye.
Bye.